Hi YouTube, it's Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button and a bell below if you want to be notified as to when I upload more content. And I do apologize for the way I'm looking. I have yet to get to the gym and it's been a rather wintry day here in Adelaide. So I'm sort of not moving very far from the heater. In this video, I'm just wanting to make some mention about a cosmic event that's coming up, and that is Saturn is going retrograde from the 4th of June through to about the 22nd of October, and it'll be going retrograde in the astrological sign of Aquarius. And this will be the last time it will be in Aquarius for about 28 years. If you've watched my other astrological comments, you will know that I'm not an astrologer. I don't pretend to be an astrologer. I just follow some astrology channels which I find of interest, and I will link them below so you can actually read their report in its fullest. But this took my interest because Saturn is the Lord of Karma. He is the great teacher. And I was wondering what him going retrograde would actually mean. So Saturn makes us sort of do the hard work in relation to things. He sort of brings around harsh awakenings, which probably rolling your eyes at because we've just had all that with the latest full moon with the eclipse on it. And he also teaches us about boundaries, but in doing the work, he also rewards us as well, especially when we step up. So he's all about taking responsibility, and there seems to be a word that's been popping up quite a bit recently. Responsibility for our own selves, for our actions, for owning up for our decisions that we make. Also, he's about creating structures and boundaries, making sure these boundaries are set, and honoring our personal integrity, which again are issues or aspects which have been rearing their head quite a bit of late. So he entered Aquarius around about the 22nd, 23rd of March 2020. And if you can think back that far, that was in March 2020 was when they announced the official start of the global pandemic, even though it had been mentioned or coming to the surface before that. But it was in March 2020 when they first announced it. I know I was on the verge of going to Bali for my birthday, and I decided to cancel at the last minute, and a week later everybody went into lockdown all around the world, so probably just as well. And Saturn will actually move out of Aquarius in March 2023, so some astrologers are sort of hinting that this may actually mean the official end of the pandemic. I suppose we can just wait and see. So a few points or things to sort of think about is that when Saturn re-entered Aquarius after being in retrograde, that was around December 2020, and that was when it came into alignment with Jupiter, and we had what was classified as the Great Conjunction, when we had these two planets, the Great Maleficent and the Great Beneficent, in alignment with each other. And I'm quite sure I've done a video on it, which I will also link. And this also brought about what's considered to be new cosmic cycles, which may have resulted in Saturn planting seeds in our higher consciousness. So it'll be interesting too, if you've been keeping any notes, to see what was going through your mind or your thought patterns, where you were heading round about that time. December 2020 we're looking at now. Then it's May 2021, last year, It went into retrograde until about October, and it stationed direct. And again, if you have been keeping journals, maybe have a look at the themes that were occurring in your life around about that time. Because Saturn calls to us to do the hard work, as I mentioned earlier. It sort of brings us really back to this physical plane and make us start to think about things in a more practical sense. Lifetime goals or longer term goals, helping us to build structures so we can achieve these long term goals. And also he is about bringing order into our lives. And from memory, especially heading towards the end of last year, there was quite a bit of upheaval because everybody was sick and tired of the mandates, etc. So it was almost like restructuring our lives. And the onus on responsibility was beginning to be handed back to us to take more responsibility of how we individually handled the pandemic, and whether we got vaccinated or not, whether we wore masks or not, whether we isolated or not, as opposed to governments ordering us. The responsibility came back to us, and there was more and more sort of public demonstrations as to what people truly wanted, regardless of what side of the fence you sit on. So Saturn's about to go into retrograde again, which means we'll be looking again at the direction that we're heading into, where we're working at or working towards, because retrogrades, like on any other planet, reminds us to reflect, release, surrender, and so we can refocus on the task ahead. So with Saturn, there's also the possibility of unlocking new potentials, receiving a new level of maturity, especially if we are managing this self-responsibility that's calling for us to do. And when we start taking more and more responsibility for our own actions and thought processes and unlocking all these new potentials, the rewards that Saturn brings, which are longer term rewards that are more longer lasting, can come to fruition, or we become more aware of them. So just some things to take note of. Saturn will be in retrograde from, as I said, 4th of June through to the 22nd of October. And March next year, he will be moving out of Aquarius. So could be some interesting times ahead. Blessings.